The seagulls follow trawler. It's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much.
Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Talking nonsense. So I thought, no, enough's enough. Why should I put up with that? Don't back down, double down. Don't back down, double down. Yes, here we go. It's the S Express. It's Saturday night. I'm waiting on the boxing to start because I'm a mug who paid, I don't know what it was, $27.99 to watch a fight I already know the outcome of. I'm a crazy bastard. I'm watching I don't even got the undercard on. I'm that tragic. But obviously there was a brilliant show last night. Oh, there's two brilliant shows, I should say. We had last night. Phil McGinley did a spontaneous, and I liked it. It was called the Boycie Bus Reacts, like a wee fucking one of those wee lines. And then obviously the Lawwell news broke, so we did a reactionary pod. Him and Liam got tore into it, and then Mark came on, and the judge took over. Let's be honest, he held court, and I've got to be totally honest. Whilst Mark's views are extremely strong, I found myself nodding along to almost every single one of the opinions that he gave. I mean, I don't know. I mean, do they watch the bus? We literally were sitting, guys, speaking about this on the Thursday night, saying it's a guarantee he'll be him back. This has to happen, yada yada. And the next morning or the next afternoon, whenever it was announced. Now, I'm going to give you my take on it, and it's not because my views are very important or anything. It's just a wee show because it's Saturday night. Why not? If you're not having a beer, cheers to you all. Enjoy. Now, before we do that, all that good stuff, subscribe, like, share, slag my hair, all that nonsense. Let's do it. But I've got a couple of takeaways from the Lawwell thing, because obviously I already feel that the majority of fans aren't happy about it, but some have short memories. There's an apathy from some I really think shouldn't be there, because let's be honest, Celtic Football Club, without him being in an official sort of capacity, I think he was still 360,000 shares or something. Do you know what I mean? What I would say is, we had an AGM 3 weeks ago, guys. So why wouldn't you announce it then? Why yesterday, when you announce it, do you not use your social media, your Twitter, for example? I don't know about Instagram and all that. Funnily enough, I couldn't like mine. I don't have one. taking a wee selfie of myself on that. It's not going to work, is it? But one thing about them not tweeting it is they can't wait to tweet happy birthday as it was before. Of course, we kind of took the piss out of that. And then it became, the news obviously today about was it yesterday they announced Alistair Johnston? And you thought, well, why is one getting announced on Twitter, one's not? This is very much two things. Remember Rangers used to not announce their accounts on Twitter? And this is me slagging them off. But when it was a bad news day, they would do it on a Friday night so no one noticed. Celtic yesterday were announcing that news, but Peter Lawwell had tried to do it on the website, minimal output, minimal publicity, shall we say, even though it was always going to get back to us anyway. Do you know what I mean? And we already knew. We just wanted them to tell us. They have dodged doing it in an environment they wouldn't have liked, i.e. the AGM. Why? That tells you everything you need to know. This is basic psychology. Basic. What they've done is they have not announced it at the AGM because of the awkward questions they would then receive. Ange Postecoglou and the board of directors do not get a better opportunity to tell supporters what direction the club's heading in than at an AGM. This opportunity was not given, yet some people are now saying they knew since this summer Peter Lawwell was coming in. Now, we speculated about it on the bus. None of us claimed to be ITK. But let's be completely honest here. That AGM dodging that stinks. It didn't take a genius to work out why they didn't announce it there and then. Do you think they didn't know there? Do you think they've only just found out? They've just announced it now because finally they've agreed terms. Oh, come on. This is deliberately being not announced at an AGM, not announced on social media. Pourquoi? Oh, I think that means why in French. It's a bold move, if not, Boycie. It's cowardly. It stinks of we're trying to hide something, or it stinks of, do you know what? Guess who's back? Fuck yous. This is how you're now going to get fed news that we don't want to, we've known all along. This is now it. I think it's really disappointing when the strides made by the football club in terms of even transfer strategy, albeit on reflection, as I've said before, I don't think the summer was actually a roaring success, that maybe we were guilty of heralding a wee bit overly on the bus as well at the time. What I will say though is, January looks is already proactive and 2 players on the door. It's the 3rd of December. The window doesn't open till the 1st of January. That I really like. I can't deny it. The concerns though are real, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get one thing clear here. One thing clear. The change in attitude is already clear to be seen by the 2 examples I've just given you. No social media, not mentioned at the AGM. But people knew 6 months ago Lawwell was coming in. That tells you everything you need to know. So that tells me already there's a shift. There's a change of direction. Now, whilst these signings will be heralded, obviously we also have to combine it with the fact newspapers are getting told stories, leaked stories of 2 contract negotiations falling through. Giakoumakis, Juranovic. I know Sky Sports have reported today that potentially the Giakoumakis one is, yes, he rejected it, but he's not unopen to renegotiating. But what crazy demands are they putting on the club? Let's be honest. So I'm going to tell you a couple of things why I don't want Peter Lawwell in position. I think these are quite straightforward. I think these are quite obvious. We don't need to go into too much detail and cover too much ground. But what we can say is there are reasons people don't want him there, like myself. Reasons. Now, see, when he left at a stage where the 10 road flopped. He took us to Dubai in January. He'd done a closed book interview at that point. I don't even remember. It was club-led rather than actually getting asked proper questions. Total politics. Bollocks, that is, by the way. I can't be arsed with cowardly acts like that. He thought he was driving off into the sunset. Let's go further back than that, though. We've not qualified through a knockout match in Europe since 2004. That is his era. We've never won a European knockout tie. He hampered Celtic's progress in Europe. How many times did we even qualify for the Champions League under him out the 17 years he was in position? 7 to 17, something like that. If they point to that as success for a club our size, then I don't know what success is. There is one thing as well that really frustrates me. Now, that is the fact there was a decade of dominance that's going to be dressed up by, I don't want to go too fancy, happy clappers and all that nonsense, but undeniably, the element of support that, think this is a good decision, don't hit me with, well, at least we didn't go bust like Sevco and all this nonsense. That ain't the standards we hold ourselves to. That's nonsense. Why on earth would we be comparing our situation to one of a club going bust? So what, all ambitions apart because at least we didn't do that. The other argument I'm seeing is, oh, well, it's not as bad as the 90s. Again, you could have put me as CEO. I'd have done a better job than what was going on in the 90s. Again, a very low bar we're setting here. And are Celtic's ambitions going to match the managers going forward with this guy in position now? Let's talk about something else. Non-exec. What does it mean? Because people try to tell me, I've had a few good ding-dongs on the old Twitter. Nothing personal with anyone. Never is. I like debate. And for me, I just feel non-exec chairman is very, very different, because what we're getting led to believe when you look into what the fundamentals of a non-executive director or chairman, whatever, is these diminished roles. However, no one else at Celtic has the other bit in their job title, and that is chairman. So let's ponder on that for a minute. If you want to focus on non-executive, which I understand people are doing all over, I'm seeing loads of that, which is fine. I completely disagree when I also see the other half of his job title, non-executive chairman. Chairman is not in anyone else at Celtic's job title. So let's be honest. The non-exec bullshit is a sweetener to not create the panic that they feared might happen by Celtic supporters. Hence why, and I go back to the top of the show, they didn't announce at the AGM and they didn't announce on social media. Right? Now, the reason non-exec chairman and chairman, there's no difference in this case, is because he's the only person in situ. Now, let's turn it around another way. If he is only there to give advice and be a soundboard for a Michael Nicholson, for example. Is it Michael Nicholson? I forgot his name already. For example, okay. What advice was he going to be given? We've got 17 years of evidence that this is someone who wants to be very tight. Very tight. And I also think, if Michael Nicholson's going, look, we're going to break that wage structure to get in thingy, what do you think, Peter? He's going to say no. We know this. He couldn't even afford the extra 100, or didn't want to stump up the extra 100 grand or 200 grand for John McGinn. I know everyone goes back to that example, but it's so glaring. You've got an elite manager in situ, 2 trebles in the bounce, and you don't get a guy from your league rivals who is a diehard fan because you and Rod Peachey's beef comes first, or because you want a penny pinch. If you think this is a guy we want Nicholson to be going to for advice, if that's all it is, he's just there as a soundboard, he's just giving advice. Well, I don't want it to be his advice that our key guys off the field are getting. I really don't. I don't understand why people would. And it gets to the stage as well. The thing is with Lawwell created division in the fan base. Utter division. What's his motives for coming back to this? He got heckled last time he was at Celtic Park, What's the point in him coming back? I don't understand it. I don't get what his motives are other than an ego trip and to squeeze another couple of quid at the club. What is the point? Let it just breathe. Let it become what we all know on this bus right now at this moment in time. And the one guy in the room who has walked in with an obsidiary eye, looked at it from the outside, looks at the squad objectively, looks at the club objectively, no sentiment involved, and guess what? There's a league title in the trophy cabinet. There's a Champions League for the first time in 5 years. These are no coincidences, folks. This is because that is what you need to drive Celtic right now, not going back. And going backwards as well to Peter Lawwell. What was the process? What was it? Because I would imagine there'd be quite a lot of highly capable candidates interested in becoming Celtic's non-exec, exec, whatever you want to call it, chairman. Right? A lot of people. How does he come out on top? I don't understand. People seem to think that there was a successful tenure under Lawwell when you look at the balance sheets. I disagree. And I'll tell you why. And I use this quote all the fucking time. No football club. It doesn't matter who you support right now in the comments, right? I know that you all support Celtic, or the vast majority. I can't think of any other club that kids on it's a Champions League side or a European force or a part of the Peter Lawwell was part of the G14 or whatever it was called. Hinking he's the ticket. 18 years it took us to break our transfer record. I think we must be the only club who were in the Champions League 6-7 times that hadn't broke their transfer record since the first time they appeared in the Champions League in 2001-2002 season. That is embarrassing. If people think that's a healthy balance sheet, they are absolutely kidding themselves on. Because you know what Champions League money does? It boosts the revenue. Those spreadsheets could have been far, far better to look at. All Peter Lawwell's done is keep us above board, keeps getting his bonuses. That's what this was all about for him. A trophy, the fourth trophy Celtic could win would be that one on the spreadsheet, so he got his bonuses. That is how it fucking feels to me. Let's get one thing straight here as well. If people want to celebrate being £30 million surplus in the bank at this moment in time, or if people want to celebrate when Peter Lawwell left, even through COVID, we still were above bar. Why is that all we're striving to be? Why is it like, oh, well, the club wasn't in debt and we didn't go bust? Why is that the level of your ambition? This is Celtic. I always go back to it. We played Ajax in 2001. We pumped them 3-1 away. Bobby Pett, a free transfer for Ipswich, ripping the pish. 50 grand did he get, ripping the pish. And then the real bits of quality transfers, such as Chris Sutton and Neil Lennon, having fantastic matches. Sutton scored as well. Then look where the two clubs went from there. We qualified for the Champions League. Ajax dropped out. The next 20 years, I rest my case. Who was in charge during that time? Peter Lawwell. Who's the only guy that gives Martin O'Neill free transfers after he makes a UEFA Cup final? Peter Lawwell. Who's a guy that literally smugly told us he hadn't even looked at anyone else's CV whilst appointing Neil Lennon in the showers? Now, as you all know, I am very, very supportive of Lenny at times. I think some of the younger fans are so harsh on him, it actually does my nut in. But one thing we can all agree on is him coming back for a second tenure was the wrong decision. Make no mistake. Celtic's previous permanent manager was Brendan Rodgers. If you don't think he's made the job more attractive, I don't understand. That was a club at that point who'd qualified 2 out of the 3 attempts under Rodgers. Yet somehow we're back to Neil Lennon being appointed and a smug Peter Lawwell. Guess what else he did that day? These were the wee traits, guys, that we're seeing. He announced it on the day we won the Scottish Cup final. So he'd already decided, by the way, right? Why did he announce it then? So it went under the radar. Any sort of outcry at it or negativity was sort of drowned by the image of us lifting the Scottish Cup. Very clever. What did we do yesterday? Announce a £3.5 million Alistair Johnson, and welcome to Celtic Alistair Johnson. Big time. But let's be clear. We announced Lawwell yesterday and Alistair Johnson on the same day for the exact same reasons. It's fucking horrible. What I'm going to say is as well, I don't want to rant too much. I'm a cheery guy. But you have to take the job title from and what it means in normal businesses out the equation. I want you to think about Celtic and Peter Lawwell, not non-executive chairman business, because that ain't the situation. This is not, do you know what I mean? This ain't fucking, I don't know, Scottish Power. Do you know what I mean? This is Celtic and Peter Lawwell. We've seen the movie before. Don't like just do this, like close your ears and go la 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 la. Oh no, nothing's happening. It is happening in front of you. It should be challenged. And the one thing I'm going to say before I go, and I'm sorry I've not brought up comments because I usually like doing this for you. So, the one thing I'm going to say before I go, I think there's an obligation now for me personally on our fan media. I am looking to them guys that have got strong opinions, who were very vocal 2 years ago, 18 months, 2 years ago, about Lawwell out. Well, you've now got that opportunity. You get access to these press conferences. Find your bollocks and ask questions about why he's back. And if it turns out no one wants to ask that, then they must have changed their mind. And if that is the case, I want to know why their mind's been changed. Is it this basic that as long as Celtic are winning on the park, the board can do what they want and we just go, who cares? Nobody cares, mate. Nobody cares, mate. I disagree. See, for me, when we're winning, build from that position of strength. And I'll go back to my tweet. And people owe me an apology, by the way. Rest assured, I put out a tweet in the summer before the window closed. I listed the amount of money we had spent, right? I listed the individual players. And I just said, is that a lot for a Champions League tilt? Keep your eyes on this board. I had hundreds of quote tweets, all just slagging my appearance. Basically, oh, Ramit, we've got some belters on our support. Go on. Tell me what you guys' opinion is of Peter Lawwell being back in the room. You changed your tune that much in 18 months? Because it was pretty vocal. It was pretty vociferous. The disdain that this man was held in by our fan base not so long ago. Don't go quiet now. Don't lose your bollocks. Don't lose your bollocks. It's time the board were challenged. It's time that if the MSM won't do it, because he's probably, the puppet master probably has them on strings, then I absolutely think our fan media have to step up this time. And I implore them to do so. No wonder they don't. We don't get in. I just would love to see proper questions asked. Is this a backward step? Has he ever left the building? Why are you bringing someone back that divided the sport so much 18 months ago? Is these not fair questions to ask? And Postecoglou, you know, considering the direction that the club's going in, why is it you're so happy to bring Peter Lawwell back? What influence is Peter Lawwell going to have on this in his non-exec role? If you believe that, you'll fucking believe anything. What is that? 20 to 9? Right, I could do another 5 minutes. Let's bring in some comments. I've been really ignorant of the comments, and I didn't like being like that. Right. Paul Diet. Lawwell is Desmond's pal. He never wanted him to leave. It was always in the cards. He would return. As long as Angie's happy, then I don't see any need to worry. Loving this rant and deck, Boycie boy. That is funny. That is funny. Yeah. I mean, transition comes in saying, you know, fans start banners, splash teams up, they will hand Rangers the league. The manager says he's happy with Lawwell's appointment. He has learned lessons, in my opinion. See if he learned his lesson in the transition. This is my point. He wouldn't have came back. If he'd learned his lesson, he would have stayed away and just let the club breathe. Let it do its thing. That's not someone who's learned their lesson. Honestly. That's not someone who's learned their lesson. I disagree. I think if he'd learned his lesson, he would have stayed away. Celtic's been on a very upward trajectory, not a downward one, since he left. So, you know, I don't think and what evidence is there he's learned from his lessons anyway, transition, to be honest with you, mate? I don't see them. I mean, it's, John Duncan's calling it self-harm FC. I mean, I get it. I mean, bear in mind, by the way, see last season, Bernard Higgins, they were talking about bringing back at one point. Same board. You know, they say, what is it? Leopards never change their spots. I hope we have. We've got an opportunity right now to go win this league. Second season in a row, group stage Champions League football. reputation growing, a manager that has the fan base in the palm of his hand. Why can't that just be let? Open that bottle, let it breathe like a fine wine. Let us dream. Let us all be happy. Why bring this dark cloud back? Why do it? To piss on everyone's parade for what? So he can be involved again when the times are going good. Oh, piss off. It's an embarrassment of a decision. Absolute embarrassment of a decision. And I am not going to be someone who changes my view on it. I'm open to everyone's angle, of course. I will always debate them on the bus, and we'll look forward to doing it, obviously, over the next week. But from my point of view, no. It's a big thumbs down from me. We didn't know it was coming, but now it's happened. The reality bites, and, you know, it'll be interesting to see what the feedback is. I'm going to let all yous go. Have a great Saturday night. This has been the S Express.
Some of his comments about me deliberately trying to cause controversy. Well, I work in the media now, and you've got someone sitting there next to you who's an embarrassment to the media profession. He's an apologist. He's a charlatan.